Welcome to another episode of Proudly on Record. Today we have with us Remy, who is a secular witch. Got to get into that. And a poet, gamer, and longtime animal lover who has Tourette syndrome and Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. He reads a lot of books in his spare time and listens to metal music. Yes, I don't know if you can see, but this is a baby metal shirt that I am wearing right now. I also love metal music, so does Gary. His favorite genre to read is nonfiction. Awesome. We'll have to get some good book recs from you at some point. Yeah, welcome, Remy. We're excited
Welcome.
to have you. So, a secular witch, that's so cool. Tell us a little bit about being a secular witch.
I get a lot of questions about that. And people tend to assume that if you're a witch, you automatically have deities that you work with. But I do not work with deities, I work with the energy. It doesn't
Oh,
Okay.
necessarily involve deity work or deity worship. It involves the energy that you're working with. And so things like hexing and stuff are not necessarily off limits. And I don't believe in the rule of three.
Do you, read energies around you, or is that something where you're can you explain a little bit more about that?
There's probably people that can explain it better than me. But I started out Wicked, actually, when I switched from to Christian. And then fast forward, I am now basically an atheist with rich downloaded content, basically. So like if you were downloading a video game, I am the extra side content, basically. Um, so rich plus or whatever you call it. It's like atheist with extra steps.
when did you start that? Like, how long has it been?
I've been a witch for over 10 years, but I was not
Mhm.
allowed to practice because I was in the broom closet due to my upbringing. um,
Yeah.
Due to my religious beliefs that I was raised with, they were very heavily against anything other than their particular flavor of religion.
Mm.
So
Gotcha. Understandable. Speaking of that, what is your religious background growing up?
there are different ones within the same family, but there's mostly evangelical. It was more of the Southern Baptist ones where it's like girls are not allowed to wear anything but skirts and stuff. Can't date at a certain
Yeah.
age. Can't show shoulders. No cursing allowed. If you're depressed, it's your own fault. Stuff like that.
Mhm. We were raised in the same flavor. Couldn't wear pants, couldn't listen to any music other than old school hymns, not even like Christian rock and roll. Couldn't even listen to like Casting Crowns, nothing like that.
As if casting
As
crowns.
if
Okay, as if
can't
casting
even
Christian rock and roll.
listen to
I
Casting Crowns.
cannot. I cannot.
Hey, that was
Um,
hardcore rock when I grew up. Okay.
oh no.
You know, Reffy's
Yeah.
shaking his head.
Oh no. So if you were in the evangelical background, how did you first hear about Wicca to make that switch?
Facebook, to be honest. I have friends that were online that were not a part of my family, and they were more accepting. Uh, and some of them happened to be Wiccan, and I was explaining it through that. When I first left the church, I was originally an atheist, but I got a lot of pushback on that, and I mean a lot. So I kind of went in that direction to pacify them because it was a rather toxic household, and I ended up in groups and stuff, and that's how I ended up the way.
Were you still living with your family when you left the church? Or
I've been estranged for over 10 years now.
what was kind of your breaking point? Why did you start to pull away from the church?
My preacher at the time did a whole rant about LGBTQ people are going to hell, pedophiles and all this stuff. Um and they were straying from the path of God. And and
Yeah.
I stood up and walked out.
Good for you.
I was
That
not going to put it that. This was after they had told me that my Tourette's was my blood, and also mentioned exorcism.
Oh,
So it
Yeah.
was I was done. So
Yeah.
wow.
Cool.
Did your family feel that way about your Tourette's? Like, were you at church at that point because of your family, or were you going on your own, or
I went because they wanted me to. I was not an age where I was allowed to make choices on my own,
Mhm,
but I left on my own.
Mm.
gotcha.
So
How old were you when you left?
I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
That sounds about right for a
And
lot of people.
was there a time growing up when you were believing in Christianity, or was that something that you, never really connected with?
There was a time where I was very much into it, and I actually lost quite a few friendships because of how pushy you're raised to be.
Mm,
You must convert people at all costs mindset, basically. And being autistic, with the line of thinking, you tend to go one way or the other way.
Okay.
And yeah, I lost quite a few friendships.
yeah, relatable. You, and I mean this in the best way, are like an evangelical parent's worst nightmare. You are
Yes.
a witch
Checking all the boxes.
and you're trans.
Yes,
When did you realize that you were trans, and what was that journey for you?
I realized also in my 20s, I was actually force-outed. I was not originally going to tell my family about it because of their reactions towards things like that, and, I realized around the time, and the witchy thing, the transgender thing, and the leaving the church all connected, basically.
Oh yeah, that happens a lot. What was that journey for you coming out as trans, and how did that go with your family? I'm guessing not well.
They did not take it very well. They started quoting Bible verses at me. I got repeated articles about how I was going to regret it when I met God, and everyone strays from the path of God, and you're allowed to repent and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm done with the conversation because there's no. You've already decided that this is how you're gonna be. I can
Mhm.
talk to a wall better than I can with you. So I was like, done.
And then that was in your 20s, then when you came out to them then?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you know before that?
I had an idea, but I didn't have the language for it. I knew there was something going on, but I'd never been exposed to the language for it and never knew. I thought I was, broken.
So many people on the podcast say that, and myself too. I'm a gender, so I go by they them, and I had no idea what that was or what that language was, and once I learned the language, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense. That's what I
Everything makes
am,
sense.
Yeah.
and it's such a crazy feeling. Just finding that language makes such a difference. Good for you. You're no contact with your family now, right? You said that you guys are
No,
very
no.
estranged. Yeah. How was that for you?
I mean, it's working, but they didn't take it very well, but as to be
Right.
expected, but it's working. I now have a family of choice.
How was finding that for you?
It works very well. I'm very happy with the way things are. And it's much more peaceful.
Yeah,
My OCD is also not as bad. So
that makes sense. Yeah.
Was it well, actually 2 questions. When your friends that you had through the internet, were they your main support system as you were coming out to your family and, like, leaving the church, or where did you find community during that time?
they were my support system at the time, and they were the ones that were like they stayed there with me. And they were the ones that were helping me see the way you're being treated is not okay. The way that they're acting towards you is not okay. You're not some weird person for speaking out about this. You're perfectly capable of living on your own despite what they've tried to tell you. You you're an adult. You can make
Mm,
choices on your own.
mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they were the ones that were my support system and basically my second brain going through all that.
Yeah.
'Cause, you get confused. You're like, maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe they're right.
Sometimes you need those other voices of clarity to just be like, "Wow, I'm not crazy.
Yeah,
Thank you
yeah,
for the support and pointing this thing out."
And just unlearning everything that you've been told for so long too. It takes a long time to even tell yourself, "No, this is not
Mhm.
what I think anymore."
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, speaking of that, we had very similar backgrounds growing up, Remy. What was some of the hard things for you to let go of from your background, from evangelicalism?
I had to unlearn that certain things are not necessarily evil, so to speak. And I have profanity tics, and I've been taught that I was choosing that, and that was one of the things that was very hard to unlearn. That I wasn't doing it on purpose to aggravate them.
Mm.
I wasn't doing it on purpose to aggravate God. It was involuntary. Um,
Yeah.
and then also I can wear black without, uh, them going, "You need to add some color." You can't be
Yeah.
going out there looking all like that,
That is so funny. I think you're the first person who said that, and I was told that too, and I forgot about it, and that's
That's
such
so
a
funny.
thing.
I didn't
Oh
know
my gosh,
didn't know
yeah.
that.
Yep, very anti wearing black clothes. That's so funny. Man, having Tourette's in such a strict evangelical upbringing,
Yeah.
I cannot even imagine what that was like. You have that from, like, birth, right? You you just
Yeah,
have that from a young age.
and I was diagnosed as an adult. I wasn't diagnosed when I was younger, so they had no idea.
Wow.
So your whole life, they're just telling you, "You're choosing to do this. You're doing this on purpose."
You could
Oof.
stop it if you could, you
Oh,
know,
Oh, man.
that's rough.
Yeah.
Man.
Wow.
you'd need to be disciplined more. If
Yeah.
that was my
Yeah.
child, I wouldn't let them do that,
Oh, that's terrible. Wow. How old were you when you finally got diagnosed?
It was in 2022.
That's recent.
Yeah.
Man. Did you feel, like, just relief getting that diagnosis, I'm assuming?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And it had been misdiagnosed as seizures, actually. I'm not entirely sure how they thought the tics were seizures, but
Was that earlier in life? The
I
misdiagnosis?
yes, I originally did have seizures because I had a TBI, but they
Mhm.
stopped. And, if you are familiar with medical gaslighting, they're like, "Oh, this is anxiety. Oh, that's"
Is it small town vibes?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's 2 stoplights, no Walmart in sight, a couple
Yeah.
gas stations, chickens.
That's a thing too of small town, Bible Belt, evangelical aspect of the medical care too. Those go hand in hand. We could do so many episodes on misdiagnoses and how that connects back to the religious side too, especially when you are not getting meds you need and being told, "Oh, just pray harder and then you'll
Oof.
be healed."
And like you said, the evangelical community being so anti mental health,
Yeah.
and then the small town on top of that, where good luck finding a good mental health
Yeah.
person, even if you were allowed to go to
That's a
Yeah.
full
therapy.
plate. I'm
Yeah.
overwhelmed just thinking about all of it. Oh my gosh. And you're still kind of in the that's recent. You're still like in the process of unpacking all that. And
Yes.
what has been some of the most helpful resources for you as you are getting your actual diagnosis and figuring out all this stuff?
Probably the resources online and on YouTube. Threads has been helpful as well. There's a lot of things where I've been reading through and I've been like, "Oh, so that's not just me. I'm not just the weird single person out here that does that." And I actually found out that there was a thing when I was 6, and everybody laughs about it, actually. I was told not to do something, and I immediately turned around and did it anyway. I didn't know that that was, like, demand avoidance. I was thinking the whole life that I was just, "Oh, this stubborn kid."
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
And then that on top of the religious upbringing is just a lot. Has most of your community been through online avenues, or are you in a bigger area now, or is it still smaller?
it's mostly been through online. I cannot currently find any resources near me because small town. There's basically nothing there. Um,
Yeah.
We're talking chickens, goats, cows, loose dogs, outside cats. You get the picture.
I started to say maybe it's at least quiet, but if you got all those animals outside, that's not quiet either.
Carrie grew up in a very small town,
Yeah.
so she can definitely relate to
Yep,
you there.
yep.
I my town was average size, and then I kept moving to bigger and bigger places, but
But even still, especially when you're growing up in the religious community, it's still hard to find community to
Yeah.
say community twice.
so you grew up evangelical, I grew up evangelical. Were you homeschooled?
No, I was not. I kind of wish I was because I went to public school. That was not a great experience. But
Because it was in a small Baptist-y town, was your public school basically a Christian school?
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
a lot of people say that.
yes. They picked favorites, and I happened to not be one of them.
Yeah.
The teachers would pick favoritism, um, and I happened to be not one of them. They had the zero tolerance bullying thing, and when you're an undiagnosed Tourette's kid, that doesn't go very well.
Yeah, no kidding. I'm sure high school was real fun time. Okay, real talk. If you're still here, you clearly love us. So go ahead and make it official. Hit that subscribe button and give us those coveted 5 stars. It's free, it's easy, and honestly, it feeds our validation issues. Now, let's get back to the good stuff. In high school, did you have thoughts of your queerness, or you not even processing that yet?
I told one person, in one of my classes, and total of like 3 people in the entire school. But I told them not to tell my family origin because of
Right.
the environment.
Did you say that you told 3 people there, or I thought I heard
Yes, three
sorry, I
people. A total
misunderstood.
of 3 people in the entire school.
Okay, and they were trustworthy though, that was a good experience?
They were okay with it. They were
Yeah,
very accepting of it, which I found
awesome.
surprising. Being
Yeah.
the town is what it
Yeah.
is.
Are you still in contact with them at all? Are you still
No, we
friends?
lost contact. That was forever ago.
Mm,
I'm very old.
yeah, yeah. Hey, you never know. Sometimes they stick around.
Did you say that you were outed or later
I
on,
was
or
forced
did
out of
you
yes.
would you mind sharing some about that?
The person's logic was, they're your family, they're supposed to love you. Of course they'll accept you. And then she ran away when the opposite happened, and they were threatening to kick me out. And this was also the time period where conversion therapy was legal in my state. So that did not go very well.
Yeah.
I understand her logic, but if you grow up with an unsafe family, one of the things you have to deal with is people thinking all families are safe, and that's not necessarily the case.
Oh, 100%. Sometimes when people message me or younger queer kids who might be in the closet or whatever are like, "What do I do?" My first advice is always just stay safe, be safe. If you have to stay in the closet for a little while to be safe,
Yeah.
that is okay. You are no less valid, you are no less queer. Stay safe. That's a message that we really need to get out there.
And that should always be the person's decision, like, what
Oh,
they wanna share,
100%.
when they wanna
Yeah.
share, if they wanna share with people, like, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. So this person was in their mind essentially trying to do a good thing and just basically went and told your family, like straight up
Yes.
was like,
Ugh.
"Hey, this wow." Yeah,
Yes.
just drop that bombshell.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then left. Oh, man.
When was that?
That
You said
was in my
20s,
20s.
so
That's when
in your
happened.
Yeah.
20s. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. What was your family's reaction? Did they try to get you into conversion therapy or anything like that or
One person did. The rest of them ignored my pronouns, gender identity,
Mhm.
everything, and continued to deny me. They still do to this day. And they just completely ignored that I even said anything. They actually aggressively deny me and misgender me on purpose. Like, they act like they didn't have me at all. That's one of the reasons why I chose to limit contact, because my mental health was not faring very well.
What was that process like? I'm sure you tried to set some boundaries first and then those kept getting crossed, or was that something where you were just like, "No, we're gonna just not do this altogether?"
I tried setting boundaries first. The boundaries were ignored, completely ignored. So then I tried limiting contact and reducing contact. That also did not work because they ignored that as well, like just randomly showing up. So at that point, it became a safety issue. And so I was like, okay, um, because this is now a safety issue for me, I'm going to have to. I don't want to. I would have rather amputated a limb with no anesthesia, but I had to.
Mhm.
People, I noticed, especially online, don't understand that. They think you're just choosing to just up and you just wake up one day and you're like, "Oh, I don't like my family anymore. They
Yeah.
didn't give me a piece of candy, so I'm," and it's
Right.
not like that.
I also relate to that. I am currently no contact with my mom, so I also get that as well. And they very much the attitude of like, you just woke up one day and decided to hate your family. And I'm like, yeah, because that's how that works. I just woke up and was like, you know what sounds really great? Not having a mom. Let's do that. So I totally understand.
They'll say, "But your mom," but they don't go to the person and be like, "Hey, that's your kid. Why you acting like that?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good
Yeah,
point.
100%. Absolutely. So you went from evangelical Christianity to atheism,
Atheist.
and then you went to kind of Wicca,
And
and then back to atheism.
yes,
And
Atheist
and a
with
mess.
atheist
with
with side
sparkles.
quests.
Yes, and a mess.
What was your journey? What brought you from Christian to atheist to Wicca to atheist to sparkly atheist?
I survived a near-death experience.
Okay.
Oh.
People will tell you, you'll see the videos where people will be like, "Oh, I saw God when I died." I actually found out that that depends on your belief system. And when I did, I saw nothing. There was nothing there, just pure black, nothing. And I started realizing this, and I was thinking, and I was like, I looked at a lot of the music I listened to, and I started realizing, like, all of this is atheist. And then I started realizing, I was like, who am I believing in a God for? Because I still had
Mhm, mhm.
some hang-ons of, to be a good person, you have to believe in a God. And then I started
Mm.
realizing that. And I was like, oh, so I have to make choices for myself and get rid of the old conditioning. Oh, in order to be a good person, you have to believe in a higher power.
That's really true. That was also very ingrained in my head. Growing up, I didn't super ever really buy into the Christianity thing, but I think unpacking the fact that I could say that I didn't believe in God and still be a good person was actually hard for me, and I didn't really think about how difficult that actually was until you brought that up. It's hard.
Yeah, they think you have to have a moral code. They can't separate the idea of a moral compass from belief in a higher power. And that was a very hard thing to both realize and to unpack the whole meaning behind it.
That always blows my mind because I found once I let go of religion, I was like, "Oh, this feels so much easier to just
And
be
genuine.
nice. It feels more
Exactly.
genuine." So, thinking back to, like, being in the church and believing if someone's not a Christian, then they can't have a moral code, like, I just can't even wrap my head around it anymore. It's
Well, it
crazy.
makes good works, like, transactional. Like,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
makes
Exactly.
everything you do
yeah.
transactional and kind of
Exactly.
fake, and
Yep.
then when you, like, let go of all of that, like, you're a nice person because you wanna be, and
Exactly.
that's a whole other level.
You mentioned you like to read nonfiction. Have you read nonfiction on deconstruction? Has anything been helpful on your journey?
Well, there's one book, but I cannot think of the name right now. Uh, it's When the Church Hurts, I think it is. And that book was very helpful, but it was also very triggering to read because I was like, oh, this they put it they actually put it into words. Like it's right there and right there in front of your face. And you're like, oh, so that's the thing I've been trying to run from, but they actually put it into words here.
If it's not too difficult to talk about, what is the thing that you felt was really hitting you in the face with that book that you were saying you were coming from?
The gender roles and how females are expected to be submissive, be quiet, not say anything, don't tempt the guys, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. And then they have the guys where it's much more laid back and they don't tell the guys the same thing. It's two
Mhm.
different sets of beliefs. That's one of the things that never stopped me. But when they actually put it right there, it was like, okay, so I was just imagining this.
Can you talk a little bit about the gender roles and then also being trans? Was that an extra layer there?
Yes, there's um I was raised like with purity culture, basically. You can't wear certain things. You're expected to be basically shy, submissive, don't talk back, don't voice your own opinions. And then it was quite a shock to like realize I was trans. And then realize, okay, I've been raised this other way my whole entire life. And according to society and according to this, I'm supposed to act like this. Um, I don't particularly believe in gender roles. So that was also a third layer. um,
Yeah.
it was a mess. Um,
Oh, yeah.
and I was the one that was always asking questions. The church did not like me asking questions.
Mhm.
I'd be like, so why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? They didn't like it very much.
Yeah.
So
Most don't. Most of
Yeah.
them don't like anyone who asks why or ask any kind of questions. Yeah.
Churches don't care for questions. I again can relate because being agender and but being raised female and also in that purity culture and being forced to wear dresses. I couldn't wear pants. I couldn't wear any clothes that I wanted to wear, the dresses, the skirts, the culottes.
Yeah.
yeah,
And I was talking to my therapist about it recently. I just thought I hated it because I was othered. I would go out into public and, those weirdo homeschooled long jean
yeah,
skirt
yeah,
kids. And like, you're just, yeah. But then my therapist was like, well, yeah, and you're not a woman. It was literally giving me anxiety attacks as a child to be forced to wear skirts and dresses. And I hated it. And it wasn't just the othering, I was so uncomfortable
same,
being in those clothes.
Yeah.
So I
same,
can't even imagine what it was like for you. Well, I can't imagine. Yes. I can
same.
empathize what it was like for you.
Was it hard for you after coming out? Was it hard to kind of develop your style from coming from purity culture, or what was that like?
Yes, it was hard for me to figure out what I actually liked. Um,
Mhm.
I just, I just now a few years ago actually got rid of the clothes that I was given.
Mm.
Um, and actually got my own set of clothes that I liked.
Nice.
Um, and most of them are black.
Yes.
um, I had a serious case of gender envy with a few people, and I was like, okay, so what is it that I like about this? I was looking at the clothes, and I was like, oh, okay, so if I go get this stuff like this, that's what I'm actually liking.
That's always such a good place to start. What is it that I'm envying?
Yeah, yeah,
What should I find? Yeah.
That was a struggle as well, trying to figure out style and what you like. And thrift stores, man. Thrift stores are the best. Just go to a thrift store and try on everything. On the women's side, on the men's side, there are no sides. Try on the clothes. I love thrift stores. Pivoting and not related to our actual podcast at all, but what metal music do you like? What bands do you listen to?
Have you ever heard of Architects?
I love Architects.
Huge fan.
Yeah.
Bad Omens.
Nice.
Palisades. Mission Listen Light. For My Valentine.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure I'm forgetting some. Rage Against the
Oh,
Machine.
yeah. There's so many.
Nice.
Those are good ones. Classics. We went to Warp Tour this past Warp Tour and saw Wage War, Day to Remember. I think Motionless in White was there.
Motionless in
Yeah, I
White
think
was there,
we
yeah.
saw them kind of walking by. Killswitch Engage, Memphis Mayfire. Yeah, it was fun.
The whole thing with music was kind of funny because they were like, okay, you need to listen to only Christian music. I said, okay.
Yeah.
So I found Skillet. Apparently, they didn't mean Skillet. I was
They
like, what do
never
you
mean
want? You said
skillet.
Christian music.
That's what I meant with the casting crowns
Yep.
thing. See, told you, Remy got it.
Casting cards is not the same. I was same back in the day. I was like, okay, well, Skillet and Disciple and all of
Yeah.
these, and then,
No, that's
but
not
yeah,
allowed. No
still,
way.
still no.
I was so strict, literally just hymns. Did your church have a worship band? Were you allowed to listen to any kind of music outside of church stuff?
I was actually in the choir.
Okay.
um, uh, but basically, what I did I had computer access, I had Wi-Fi access, and I had headphones. So,
Nice.
and I learned how to get around the parental controls.
Yup.
Yup. That's what I did. YouTube, back in the day when people would upload the full CDs,
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
and it would take, like, an hour for it to download. Those are the
yes.
best.
Dial up.
Dial up, yep,
Yes.
yep. Little 11-year-old me listening to Breaking Benjamin,
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So
Dave's Grace.
we're on such opposite sides because I was really into religion in like high school. And so I was in the car, like fighting with my mom, like, no, we can't listen to the secular music. I can only listen to Christian music.
Oh,
So
no.
it's so different.
She squandered her freedom. I'm
Freedom was
still mad
wasted on
about
me.
it. It's a source of contention. It's actually really funny. We had the complete opposite. I was forced into the whole evangelical upbringing as you were and fighting for my life for any sense of individuality. And Carrie's over here bringing religion into her family. Like, no, I don't want to be an individual at all.
And yet here we all are.
And yet here we all are. We all got there in the
It's
end.
almost like it doesn't have anything to do with the outside sources. It's just something that we are. It's crazy.
Oh, man.
I think one of the weirdest things was I was not allowed to own band shirts with pictures of the band members on it because they thought that was idolatry and that I was
Oh,
worshiping the band
yeah.
members. And I also was
Interesting.
not
Yeah.
allowed to say I love anything. For example, if I said I love mac and cheese, they'd be like, "Oh, are you worshiping the mac and cheese?"
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I forgot about that. Oh my
Yes.
god.
Memory unlocked.
Yeah.
Spicy memory.
Well, it's so funny because somebody on Threads was just saying how their grandmother
Hating hate.
hated the word hate, and I
Yeah.
forgot that that was a thing.
Yes.
Did you get that where you couldn't say
Yes.
hate?
Don't say
Yeah.
that. That's an
Yeah.
ugly word. That's an evil word. You're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to love everybody and forgive everybody.
As a Christian, you can't have any hate in your heart, so
Yep.
you couldn't even say
Exactly.
hate. I forgot about that, and I forgot about the love thing. Like, I don't think that was as big, but I do remember people saying, like, you're like, "I love this thing," or "I love that thing." Be careful that you're not putting it before God.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Oh, no, I don't wanna talk to you anymore.
Bringing it all back.
Man, okay, cool. On this train of thought, what was the craziest evangelical thing that happened to you as a kid where you just were like, "What?"
Probably the time when I was a kid and they told me that I could pray myself better and that I would not be disabled if I prayed hard enough. So, me
Ooh.
being 8 years old and with OCD, I tried it. And I obviously am still disabled. Uh, and they told me I didn't try hard enough. So I tried it again. And same results. And that was a little bit of a annoying thing for an 8-year-old to realize. Um, but that was one of the things that I could think of right now. So
Ugh, that makes me so angry.
Yeah. Ugh.
The treatment of mental health and any kind of disability and anything in evangelical circles
Yeah.
it's so awful, it's so toxic, it
Yep.
makes me rage. It's terrible. That's just such a whole other layer that you have to unpack. I can't even imagine.
did y'all have something called Hell House?
Carrie did.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that's the real thing.
Tell us about yours. What was your Hell House like?
Instead of Halloween, my church had Hell House. And they made me go one time and one time only because we got to a room where it was completely dark inside and I am blind in one eye. I can't see anything in that
Mm.
room. You were not making me go in that room. I put on the
Mhm.
brake. I put on the brakes. It would not go any further.
Yeah. Don't
So,
blame you.
that and then also the added trauma of scenes in there being actual things I experienced in my life. That's not fun either.
What did they have in there? Carrie was telling me some of the crazy stuff.
One of my boyfriends ended his life, and they had a scene like that in it,
Oh,
and it was not fun.
guys.
Oh,
Yeah, no.
Man.
And like, what's the thought process there? I don't even know. Even the, like, milder rooms of the hell houses, I don't understand just trying to scare someone or trauma someone into religion. I can't conceptualize it.
It did the opposite effect for me. Complete
Yeah.
Yeah,
opposite.
yeah. I
Well,
guess yeah.
that's so triggering,
Yeah,
especially because so many people have been affected by those things, even if they haven't necessarily partaken themselves, like drugs, alcoholism, all of that stuff.
yeah,
That can be so triggering for somebody. That yeah,
yeah.
messed up. I did not have Hell House. I was from New England, and I feel like maybe that was more of a Southern thing because I went to Liberty University, and they did not have Hell House, but they had Scaremare, which was similar. I'm sure they still do. Same concept. I don't feel like it was as messed up as what you were talking about, though. Liberty
Ours
tried to
was
keep it kind of neutral because they wanted people to come to it, but it
ours was a
was
lot.
haunted house vibes. They had the clowns with the chainsaws and the like dark mazes. But
No,
there was still some messed up stuff in there.
ours was not haunted house. It was like, no, people being separated and thrown into hell and being like, "You can never
Yes.
see your daughter again because you did this thing." I don't even
Yes.
know. I don't remember what it was,
Yes.
but yeah.
Very
So
familiar.
traumatizing. Now, being outside of Christianity, are there other things like the fear, like fear of hell and that type of brainwashing fear that you had to get through? What other were there other areas like that for you?
Yes, definitely. I've been told by relatives that I've committed blasphemy, um,
Mm,
by my kicks.
yeah.
Um, and the last time I just kinda laughed at them because they immediately tried to get me to go to church afterwards. And I was like, "Okay, blasphemy is, according to you, the unforgivable thing. So what's the point in me going to church? If it's
Yeah.
unforgivable, then I'm not gonna be forgiven whether or not I go to church anyway." So they didn't
Yeah.
like logic. Are you familiar with the Left Behind series? I had to unlearn that too.
Yeah.
That was
We've had a lot of people talk about like rapture
yes,
trauma and
yes.
yeah.
There was a time period when I was a kid where every time somebody would leave the house, I would think that they had been raptured. If they were 5 minutes late picking me up from school, I thought they had been raptured. If they took too long in the bathroom, I thought they'd been raptured.
That's such a thing. Like
That's not psychologically
it's
damaging
so
at
wild.
all.
It's
That's
so
fine.
crazy.
You know?
So many people keep saying that. They'll come on
Mhm.
and they're like, I would call my grandma, who was the best person I knew, to see if everyone was gone or if I'd been
Yeah.
left behind.
It's so funny. I feel like I kind of had that fear, but I guess I just thought I was the greatest thing ever because my fear was more I didn't want the rapture to happen because I had stuff I wanted to do. I knew that I was going to heaven, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll be raptured, whatever. I'm not that scared about it." But, like, I'm having a good time. Can we, like, hold off? I don't want this to be happening.
You're like, "Can we
That was
pause this
my
for a second?"
rapture fear.
That is funny. I did fully believe the rapture is going to happen in my lifetime.
I remember a youth group meet up with all these churches. You know how youth groups would do that and you go to conventions and whatever. And some preacher was preaching about the rapture and how it was going to be soon and in our lifetime. And afterwards, there was a group of girls. We were all in the bathroom. And he was saying, like, I don't want the rapture to happen. Like, I want to get married and have a kid, having an existential crisis about the rapture happening and how they wouldn't have a ring by spring. And it was just funny. So, yeah, rapture trauma.
I mean, like, if you're a millennial, you've lived through at least 500 in the world predictions, you know? Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
It's just another day. So going from rapture, hell, evangelicalism to atheism, what are your thoughts on the afterlife now?
I do not believe there is an afterlife. I thought there might be one at some point, but, I have since looked through that, and I do not think there is one. I actually hope there is not one, because
Yeah.
spending eternity with people that treated me badly, here on Earth, and then are hoping to redeem themselves in the afterlife does not sound like my ideal plan. Um, you know, because they think that they're going to magically repent or, like, revoke everything that they treated me like, or treated other people like. Think that spending the eternity, uh, somewhere while other friends and other people that were generally good people are supposed to go somewhere else based on whether or not they believed in something.
Yeah, as a kid, heaven just never sounded like a good time to me, and the thought of, like you said, being in heaven, I remember asking that as a kid, "If I'm in heaven and my friend who's Catholic, because the Catholics aren't going to heaven for sure, I have to be up in heaven and my friend's in hell, what?" And they're like, "Oh, you won't know." Like, it
You'll
just
forget about that.
yeah, like, and
Yeah.
I'm like, "No, that's crazy."
And they would be like, "Oh, well, your pets don't have a soul, so they're not going either." I'm like, then I don't want to go because I want to be
Yeah.
with them."
Just put me with the animals. I
Yeah,
don't wanna be with y'all.
exactly.
Yeah, totally agree. Heaven doesn't sound fun, hell doesn't sound fun. I just wanna die and be done or, like, maybe be reincarnated, although the state of the world, I don't know if I even want that.
Yeah.
I just wanna tap out.
Now that you're kind of getting into, like, the energy aspect, are you thinking more of personal energy, trying to make sure you're putting good energy into the world, or is there anything that you are hoping to learn to move or manipulate energy, or what is that for you?
If you're very into science, you can figure out that objects have a vibration, plants have a vibration, and they have energy in them, so to speak. And I'm working with that. I actually have plants, and I work with that aspect. And I am trying to, just be a generally good person to people and work on that because the world is hard enough as it is. Life is hard enough as it is without me making it harder. Um, people need to be encouraged. They need a reason to live. And if somebody's being a jerk to them, you don't even know.
Just putting out that good energy. Even though I technically identify as an atheist and Carrie technically does too, we definitely believe in energy. I can't say, "Oh, there's for sure not a God," but I definitely don't can't say that there is one. But I think energy is the answer. We're all part of a big energy soup. I think there's
Energy
good
soup.
energy, negative energy, and yeah,
Yeah.
so that totally vibes with me, and I like that. I wanna be a secular witch. I'm gonna look into it. Let's start a coven.
I keep thinking my coven's just gonna fall into my lap, and it's not happening, so I don't know. One day. It is a full moon, like, now, so this
Is
is the
it?
Yes.
perfect time for all of this.
Nice. My ADHD actually will never let me be a witch. I'm like, "Full moon? Is the full moon? What? New moon? What is it? I don't know.
What is this
What day
cycle
is
we're
it?"
I'm a
in?
very bad bitch. I forget when the full moon is. Or like or
Yeah.
like or like, "Oh crap, it's full moon. I should probably do
Yep,
something about that."
yep.
It's a season. I don't know. What's a Halloween? I forgot about Halloween this year. That has never happened before. I can't be a witch. I can't even remember Halloween.
Is there anything else you want to say
Yeah.
about having all the overlap of having Tourette syndrome or Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, how that has connected you to people or community or anything else you wanna say about those?
The people that I've found with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome has been very, very helpful, especially the ones that have also gone no contact with their family. They've been very helpful in being a support system and giving me resources. Um, and I'm just grateful that I can be out here and talk to y'all, um, with the confidence that I have now compared to several years ago when I was basically anxiety ridden.
I don't know why with all of the terrible things that were just
Yeah, I couldn't
constantly
imagine why.
said to you, why would you have anxiety?
Couldn't imagine why. I have no idea.
Oh, that has to just be so freeing to just all of it, to have the actual diagnosis now, to have the new chosen family, that has to be freeing.
Yes.
And you reached out to me about being on the podcast, and I didn't know that you had Tourette's or any of this. And then when I realized you did, I was like, "Wow, that was like so brave. Good for you for reaching out and wanting to be on a podcast." I was like, "That's awesome. You go."
This is
Yeah,
my
that's
first
cool.
time ever being on a podcast, actually. So,
Well, I feel so special.
Glad to have you here.
Yeah, for sure. You're awesome. This has been a wonderful conversation.
Alright.
Is there anything else that you want to say about anything else before we ask you the final question, or are you like, "I'm good. I said my piece."
I get
Good? Cool. All right. Well, then it's time for the final question.
Do-do-do-do.
We like to wrap up our podcast with the question, if you could go back in time to baby queer Remy hanging out in the pews of church, what words of advice or encouragement or love would you like to impart to him?
If you are having involuntary movements or involuntary words, and the adults around you are telling you that you could help it or you could stop it if you want to, um, please do not take them at face value, and please get that checked out. It is not your fault, and you did not do anything to cause it. And for the sake of your mental health, I hope you're doing well.
It's just not your fault. Just to
Yeah.
hear that at a young age. You didn't do anything to cause it. It's not your fault. The adults around you, man, they are the ones that need to get some stuff figured out.
Well, it was awesome talking to you. Thank you for reaching out and wanting to be on the show. We had a really good time. So, yeah, thank you.
Yep. Thanks. Glad to have you.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.